Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online. G'day, I'm Fletch and welcome to the show. Today I have brought you to Temora in New South Wales in this week's Classic Restos on the road. Temora is located just over 400 kilometres southwest from Sydney as a part of the beautiful Riverina section of New South Wales. Founded in 1879 by a tired bloke when he got here, John Bray, and he couldn't tell anyone how tired he actually was because he was on his own. Or perhaps his horse. Land was leased in 1836, and shortly after, the land and gold attracted settlers from all over the world. Temora is home for just over 4,500 people. Like most rural towns, it comes with a front row seat for fresh air and tranquility. Temora is known for many things. The Temora Aviation Museum is a huge highlight, but this episode is about the Bundarra Center, where there is a rural museum inside, and that comprises the Temora Ambulance Museum. What a fantastic place this is. Almost reminds me of being back on Route 66, being steeped in history with buildings and town history. And here, at the Bundarra Center, we have the actual first home from 1908 to 1911 of Sir Donald Bradman. It was picked up and relocated here back around 1980. Now, I first got here to see the Ambulance Museum. You just have to discover this place and see what is here. We're trying to make our way to the ambulances, but we're getting consistently distracted along the way. Found this row of really old tractors here that are just so interesting. Bill, thank you so much for being a bit of a host here today and showing us around.
Oh, great. It's great to have you here, Fletch. We really enjoy the fact that you're coming to discover one of our hidden gems.
Well, thank you. And this is the first time that Classic Restos is actually filmed in Temora, New South Wales. So very proud of that. 16 years of the show and over 730 episodes and first time into Temora. So it just goes to show it takes a long time to get around this big country of ours. And it just never ceases to amaze me where bits and pieces and machinery come from. Now, you've got this gel bar here behind us from 1915.
Yep.
And apparently it's pretty incredible. What's the story?
Well, it's one of our most iconic tractors, mainly because it is an Australian tractor, of course, made in Ballarat, and the engine in it was made in November 1914. There's a gentleman out there that studies them, and he believes that this is the oldest working example of a gel bar still going around, and our volunteers keep it in a condition, Fletch, that it's as good as it rolled off the assembly line all those years ago. And what I was going to tell you about it is that it's quite different to everything else. It's got an air scavenging engine. So we've got about 50 tractors and we could start them all up. If we start this one, you will know that it's going.
Incredible too with the way that Gelbart thought in their production as well. Now, you were saying also that they got to a point where the rest of the manufacturers left them for dead. They just felt they didn't have to progress any further.
Yep.
and that's quite true.
Well, that's my understanding. As you look at the structure of this particular piece of machinery, it's a missing link between a stationary engine and a tractor. So it actually addressed the issue of replacing a horse as a form of power. But having achieved that, it's my understanding that they continued to develop this until about 1925, but they didn't see it as a progression, and so many other companies around the world saw the potential of power farming and left them for dead.
And this here is a heart par. Did you fart par? I thought it was time in the show to get to a bit of more late model stuff. So we're at 1923 now, right, Bill?
Yes, it was hardly late model, but it's later than the Gelbart, certainly.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've come a long way from 1915 to 1923. Whole row of tractors here. When you come to the Bundarra Center, you'll get to see that. We still haven't got to the ambulances yet, but stand by on that. Yep. So what can you tell us about this, Bill?
Well, this one's particularly interesting because it's actually an articulated tractor. I'm actually an escaped farmer, so I remember farming through the 80s, and articulated tractors became very, very significant through that period of time. But this one actually dates from 60 years earlier. And why they call it a Moline Universal? It's because it's made in America. It's from Illinois. And the thing is that you could break it in the middle in the articulation, and instead and put a whole lot of different implements behind the tractor. So the actual tractor part is only the first part of the tractor, and it had quite a few significant improvements in it and that sort of thing.
So when we look back at 1920s, the talk in the farming communities with the way that equipment was evolving, this would have been cutting edge stuff.
Yes, it was a very significant change from what mostly happening, because most of your tractors were becoming what we more understand as your standard sort of tractor, which is a fixed body, fixed chassis implement. But this one here, it looked at the idea of being able to use the main tractor part in the front and put all these different implements in the back.
Now, Bill, before we go much further here today, you've been here a long time. Give us a quick rundown on your involvement here at the Bundarra Center and this incredible museum here in Temora.
Well, Fletch, I'm really fortunate because I'm a tragic. And basically, ever since school, I've loved the idea of heritage and local history and things like that. And this museum actually began, I think they started collecting in about 1966 and acquiring things from the community. And they started work on the museum in 1970, and they opened it in March 73. And then some of it was already established before I actually got the opportunity to be involved in, I suppose, May of 1981. So we've been here a long time. One of the lovely things about the museum is all the different aspects of it tend to be run by people who really engage with that aspect. And my particular interest at the time, and it continues, is the record keeping, and we have a marvellous archive of local records that I've had the opportunity to promote with the support of the other volunteers. But what we found that the museum has been so successful and continued to grow that the idea of volunteers doing all the background work to keep the organisation going became quite onerous. So I had the opportunity to apply to council to see if they'd like to employ a manager. And so back in 2005, they employed me to do the management role, which I've now been doing for 18 years.
Like Dad, I've always been a Ford man. The Falcon Squire wagon was unloved in 1964, but turns heads today. The Americans call them woodies, but the panelling, it's just fiberglass and plastic. But it's a passion that Shannons understands, which is why my Fords are insured with Shannons. And now, so's the home.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. In 2023, why not consider a Detroit tour with Fletch? Detroit, the automotive epicentre. It will leave you gobsmacked. Imagine experiencing where automotive history on a grand scale began. Stay in fine accommodation, taking in some of the best museums and private car collections on the planet. Limited spaces available. Book now. 2023 Detroit Tour with Fletch.
My name's Robert Maslin, and I'm actually the chairman or maybe president of the Rural Museum here. I've been involved pretty well most of my life with the museum out here. My father was instrumental in the establishment of the museum, which dates back to 1966. We did open the museum in 1973. That is 50 years ago this year, and during that time and that early period, the museum was nothing like the size that it is today. My job way back then was basically driving an old Austin truck and picking up tractors for our tractor collection, and that was even before the museum was actually developed. I used to have old tractors in my backyard in town, storing them, and eventually when the museum was established, well, we were able to bring them out here and begin our collection, which is today quite an extensive collection of tractors, probably around 50 tractors that we have on site here today.
Rob, this place has got everything. You've got a pet crocodile underneath us there. People can get lost in here. It's shed after shed, and there's water underneath us, and that's brilliant, especially if you want to play a little bridge.
You're exactly right.
What's going on behind us? More tractors?
That's more tractors, yeah. The tractors you've already seen are some of the pride of the fleet, but we've actually got quite a significant fleet. I think there's about 56 tractors in our collection at the moment, and the vast majority work. We have dedicated volunteers that work with our collection, and on our annual exhibition, we'll often have anything up to 3 grand parades of different phases of tractors. It is a major collection within our wider offering. One of the really significant things about our collection is that it grew as the community's grown. Obviously, the agriculture was a low-hanging fruit,
yeah.
and so that we've started with that. But also, what we're finding in the 21st century, our community's changing,
yeah.
and a lot of our volunteers are associated with the emergency services. So I suppose over the last 15, 20 years, we've tended to embrace them to a much larger extent. We've got rural fire service behind us, and we've also got a fire and rescue, and of course the ambulance service is the jewel in our crown. It's not offered anywhere else in New South Wales, and the support we've received principally from the New South Wales Ambulance Service, but from the entire fraternity, the ambulance fraternity, it's been magic. It's just tremendous, very satisfying, and I believe that's our future.
Bill, I've got to say this, it's an absolute credit to you. The workings here in progress, the way that it has evolved, the expansion of your museum, again, fantastic for Temora. And this place just offers so much. Of course, we have the Aviation Museum as well here in town.
Yep.
You can spend a weekend here, you'd only be putting your toe in the water.
Oh yeah, and look, with the canola trail that Temora Shire is part of, with Coolaman and Junee, and the chocolate factory down there, and
yep.
the cheese factory, and things like that, the opportunity to explore our region is huge. And of course, with the Aviation Museum, which is world class, it's the magnet that brings people to Temora. Hopefully, we're the ones that keep them long enough to have a cup of tea or lunch.
Absolutely. Yeah. Check it all out on social media. You can find these areas and get on the bike, get in the car, get in the truck, come on out and check out blokes just like this one.
Please do.
Good on you, Bill. All right, now, we'll go past these tractors.
Yep.
We'll head towards the ambulances, right?
Indeed, we will.
Okay,
yep.
Let's do that. Well, I don't believe it. I'm finally here. A thermos of tea and 2 peanut butter sandwiches later, this is it. The Temora Ambulance Museum. Let's go take a closer look. So we are here, and what a comprehensive collection of ambulances. To the classic Restos audience, we have ambulances that were from our domestic cars made here in Australia. A little more on those later. I think it's only right to start with one of the first. Now, a civil ambulance from 1898 through to 1913.
Yes.
Horse-drawn.
Yes.
All I can say, Bill, is you'd You'd want some bloody fast horses, wouldn't you?
Well, either that, or else, if we open the back, you'll find that the stretcher is actually spring-loaded. So even though the wagon does have springs, it needed extra springs to get your patient there in one piece.
As part of the suspension?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And this is one of the last surviving examples of it, because it was dated from the 1890s through to about 1913. The reason this one was replaced, and it actually worked in the city, in the city, it based at Railway Square, which is the corner of Pitt and George Streets in the city.
Wow.
But in 1913, Anthony Holden donated the first motorised ambulance to Sydney, and that was a Minerva. And so it actually replaced this vehicle. Yep.
Wow. Times have moved on. We've got a petrol engine now, we've got a 3-speed gearbox, we've got the mighty FJ Holden ambulance, purchased new in '56 from Sutton's here in Temora.
Yep, yes indeed. And Fletch, I've got to tell you, this is the pride of the fleet. It is a beautiful vehicle. After it was fully restored, it's been winning Holden awards and things like that in the Holden shows and things like that. But the story is much, much richer than that, because Eddie Sams was actually a panel beater mechanic down at Raymond Terrace, and he always loved the Holdens, and he wanted to get an FJ Holden panel van. Anyway, he found one over in York in Western Australia. Anyway, went over and got it, and when he brought it back, he realised it was the Temora ambulance and that sort of thing.
Wow.
So being devoted to the restoration ethic, he put it back to exactly what it had been, and it's just beautifully restored. And the thing is that he brought it down here to show it, because it was Temora, and we have our annual exhibitions. He brought it down to share it with us for one of our grand parades, and when he did it, he saw the response amongst the people, and he said to his wife, he said, I think we can do this.
Yeah.
So in 1991, they retired from Raymond Terrace and came and settled in Temora. He realised that a lot of the beautiful vehicles we're looking at here were starting to be removed from the ambulance, where they were stored in ambulance stations, because there was no room with the sprinters. So he asked me to start writing to the fleet manager and asked if we could have them to look after them to add to his museum. Anyway, when I wrote to the third one, they said, would you like the rest? I thought half a dozen. We now have an ambulance museum based on it.
That's fantastic. It really is. Here's a little gift.
Oh dear.
Bill, and this is from our good friends at General Motors Australia.
Oh my glory.
And it's something that's, that we'd like to give you for the museum here. It's a Holden Legends pack. Obviously it goes hand in hand with the mighty FJ here. Yep. These packs are available online. And we'd like to give you this for the museum.
Oh, so thank you, Fletch. That's a most generous thing for you to do for us.
That's okay.
Actually, Fletch, this gives me an opportunity to acknowledge the fact of what you're doing through Classic Restos, to actually showcase the magnificent heritage that we've got here, and to have General Motors to support you in this way and to support us in this way. We can't thank them enough for the help and the support they give us. This Holden is so important to us, and our association with Holden rises from that. So thank you very much.
That's okay. You're very welcome, Bill. I guess we probably should have kept this one till last, but, well, I jumped the gun and couldn't help myself. So keep up your fantastic work with the Holden.
Oh, no, it's wonderful. Thank you very much, Fletch.
You're welcome. Thanks, Bill.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be.
Shannon's.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride. If you own a classic or more, make sure they're insured with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And keep in mind too that the Shannons Club awaits you with their own in-house productions, such as Shannons Club TV, Legends of Motorsport, Driven, End of an Era, You can watch Classic Restos there as well, along with a heap of other really cool stuff down as Australia's largest and most comprehensive automotive online hub. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. Time now to catch up with this guy. How are you, Rob?
Oh, Fletch, I'm very well.
That's good. That's good. You come to a very nice place for work each day, if you want to call it work.
It is. For someone retired, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And me being an old mechanic back in my early years,
Yeah.
I've always got plenty to do.
It's marvellous, and again, as we spoke to Bill about, in support of the ambulance service with these vehicles here, and I haven't seen as many ambulances in one spot ever in the history of Classic Restos until today, and it's such a variety of vehicles here. And these two here, we've got a ZC Fairlane, we've got a 1971 VH Valiant here as well. And these are the cars that, well, you know, they were, in some cases, they belonged to families, and to see them in an ambulance, it was like a bit of a wow factor. Interesting thing too, a Fairlane, which was always, you know, a top-end car. And to see that being used as an ambulance, I think there was a bit of wow factor there.
I think there'd be quite a bit of wow factor, Fletch. And being a Fairlane, a large car for an ambulance compared to what the Ambos would have been used to back in 1971, and a very smooth, well-riding car.
Absolutely. Too. Longer wheelbase too, set the purpose fantastically for its application there, and of course a V8 up front. Now we go to the VH Valiant, the good old Val here, 71 VH, tough as nails these things. Got a 245 Hemi in it. Look, these were 100-mile-an-hour cars back in their time, and I believe that this one was pretty popular.
It would have been. We had a Valiant agent out here, so Valiants were very popular out here in the country. They were robust, gave very little mechanical problem, and their engines were fairly long life compared to their predecessors that came before them.
We're going to end today's show with one very gracious lady of a vehicle over there, the Chrysler Imperial. When I look at that and think, see, there we go, the high-end car. Now, Imperial, that was the highest end for Chrysler back in the time, and well, here we go, being used as an ambulance.
Yeah, no, glorious car, you know. Beautiful. Its lines are beautiful, and the fact that it has been converted to into a bootloader. Yeah,
give us a rundown. Tell us what a bootloader is. I guess it makes sense when you explain it, but straight off the cuff you hear, okay, a bootloader in a Chrysler Imperial. Tell us the year of that, if you would, Rob, and just explain what's been done to that vehicle.
The bootloader was manufactured in 1938, and for its time it was advanced in its time. It has an 8-cylinder engine in it, which is a very powerful power unit in it. And back in the Second World War years, the conventional type of van type vehicles weren't available, and ambulances were hard to come by, so they started converting the ordinary sedan cars, large sedan cars, into bootloaders. And that just required the rear seat taking out and any squab behind that, and being able to incorporate a pull-out bed. How
times have changed, and again, the utmost respect to all the paramedics that drove each and every one of these vehicles. Okay, on that note, Rob, thank you very much for your time today. I know you play an integral role here, along with Bill, at the Temora Museum. It's an outstanding place. You've got to come to Temora, come and have a look at this place. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, mate.
Yes. Thanks, Fletch.
You're welcome. Bill, the Chrysler Imperial, what's it like to drive?
Well, it's a lovely car. As you say, it was a high-end car for a start, so it's a luxury car, and very fortunate that they chose that one to use as a bootloader, because of course if you were one of the patients, then it was a good ride. And the thing is that it solved a huge problem, and Australians are always good for finding ways around problems. And of course during the war, all the main bodybuilders that would have modified vehicles were working for the government.
Incredible. Look, I really enjoyed today. And I just want to thank you so much for everything, Bill. And as we said to Rob, you play an integral part here. You're two important teeth on a big cog that keeps this place rolling along. And congratulations, mate, on behalf of the Classic Restos audience. I'm sure everyone's going to agree that you do a fantastic job. Keep up your great work.
I've got to say thank you very much, Fletch, for coming and visiting us, because we are an undiscovered gem, and we'd love to share it with more people, share the love that we have for our collection with other people.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for your
You're welcome,
support.
Bill. Thank you very much.
Good on you.
This episode comes from the heart. It's a reflective tribute of respect to all ambulance personnel on the road, office-based and senior levels of distinction within the ambulance service. Our hats come off to all of you, and we thank you for your service. These were just some of the classic vehicle examples driven by our ambulance teams over many decades. When you can, come and see them for yourself here at Temora, New South Wales. Well, that has to be a wrap. Just some of the Rural Museum here in Temora, New South Wales. When you get the opportunity, please come to Temora and discover this place for yourself. There is just so much to see and do. And having said that, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.